Alright guys, today we'll be changing out one of the most commonly faulty parts of a Mercedes AIRMATIC system, that is the AIRMATIC valve block. This is actually the exact same part across many models in the Mercedes model lineup for almost 10 to 15 years. W164, the W213 E Class, etc. Today we'll be changing out this valve block on my ML63 AMG, but this should apply to pretty much any W164 along with other Mercedes models as well. The original manufacturer for this part is RAPA or RAPA. They made the original one on my car as well as a brand new one. You're going to want to lift the car off all four wheels to begin this process, as we will be releasing all air pressure from the system, so having the car off the ground is definitely the way to go to reduce pressure on your compressor. In the case of most W164 ML GLs and W251 R Classes, the valve block sits right behind the fender liner. It's a very quick and easy job as a result of that. But on the 63, at least for the ML, probably 550 and potentially R63, the valve block is actually behind the front bumper. My front bumper removal video is in the description below, which can help you guys out. I do believe the larger wheel diameter of the AMGs and potentially the wide body is why the valve block is behind the bumper. Well folks, the next step is to lower your AIRMATIC pump down out of the way. You can see there's two 10mm screws with a sort of spring contraption holding it in place. Hard to see that one over there. Essentially it's this, a rubber mount to prevent vibration, and the spring in between, and a washer up top. Now, I did make a discovery, which you can probably see in the frame right now, which is, yeah, this is completely shorn off. Now, I'm not sure if this popped off when I started working over here, or if it was already cracked, but that's not a good sign right there, and that could be why I've been getting an AIRMATIC code. Quick pause for a moment. That hose is actually just the air intake for the pump itself. Now, it is an important piece because the pump, if it sucks in dirty air from the wheel well, it can actually total the pump out prematurely, but in this case, it's not going to prevent it from working altogether. Now, for clarification, what had happened a couple months ago was we had an AIRMATIC strut blow out and actually blew up. It didn't just slowly leak out. My dad was driving on the road close to my house, and he heard a pop, and the front right corner of the car just fell to the ground. So we had that strut changed out, and the AIRMATIC issue or code persisted. So my buddy Aiden hooked up his scan tool. We found out that the AIRMATIC sort of diagnostic told us using our launch scanner that there was a leak between the front air block, or valve block rather, and the reservoir in the back of the car. And that typically means the valve block is just at fault. I mean, this car is 16 years old with 127,000 miles or so. So, you know, it's getting up there at an age where things just start going out. In fact, AIRMATIC blocks or valve blocks usually go out much earlier than that. And I believe this is original to my knowledge at the very least, so we'll get a look at that date code when it does come out. Also, there is one more post at the very back of the air pump, just so you guys know. Might be different on the 350 and 550 or non-AMG package cars, but just heads up, 463s and sport package cars will have 3 posts at the bottom. And I'm using a jack stand to support it when it does come down because I don't want it to put all the weight on one of the air lines that goes from the pump to the valve block on that side. Obviously this line's already toast, so I'm not too worried about it. Could replace this segment anyways, but yeah. With the pump out of the way, you can kind of get access to the 2 T20 bolts that are below the valve block. I would just kind of move the pump as you need to and watch that back line. I did notice something concerning, which is the line that goes from the AIRMATIC pump back there to the valve block, sort of over here. It's labeled in brown. You can kind of see the middle of the frame over there. It has been touching the crash bar. Now, you zoom in a bit over here, you can kind of see a line there. And if I were to move this line, there's a small indentation. Now, if I were smart, I would have bought new lines and replaced them all in one go, but I didn't do that. So when I put this back in, when we take the valve block out, we can get a better look at that line as well, see if it's okay to reuse. And what I might do is just wrap it in some electrical tape for now, but I'll buy some new lines for the future because I can't imagine this will be a problem at some point. It does seem like a design flaw. If not, there maybe should have been a grommet there, which is gone now. But overall, yeah, not good. We should definitely keep an eye on that. Before we fully disconnect the valve block from the crash bar, we can use a 10mm wrench to undo these little fittings over here and slide each of the lines out of the old valve block. Also disconnect from over here, this little tab on that connector. You simply press down and it pops up. Might take a little bit of wiggling, but it will come out. We will not be reusing these little brass fittings. They're one-time use because the O-rings kind of shred apart over time. So luckily our new valve block has them pre-installed. We'll just have to slip the old lines off of the brass fittings and they'll pop into the new ones, no problem. So I actually decided to take off the valve block while removing the lines because it was easier to access all of the line fittings. Something to note is that while most of these are 10 millimeters, the pump line, is actually a larger diameter line, is a 12 millimeter line. My reasoning for not wanting to take this off before was I didn't want this pump line to be sort of under more tension, but what I did is I just kind of put the pump back in place with my jack stand to make sure there's no extra sort of tension or stress on this line. You can kind of see back there is where it was rubbing against the crash bar. But for now, I'm going to take all these lines off. You can hear the hissing. This is what it looks like when the line's out of the car. We can simply pull this guy off with a little bit of twisting back and forth, and then we'll push these into the new valve block because, as you can see, it comes with these fittings with a little plastic retainer in place. We'll take these plastic pieces out. The lines can push right in. So I'm going to keep doing that for now. This connector, you just push on one tab, pops out, like I said earlier. But yeah, getting these out will take a little bit of time, and you can hear all the hissing. Also, it's crucial to have your battery disconnected because you don't want to confuse your AIRMATIC system and kind of throw some codes. And we've also disconnected the pump electrically and the valve block. So a couple things going on over here. It is good practice to disconnect your battery whenever you're working on the car, especially with electrical components and especially AIRMATIC. So do not forget to do that part. I'll be back with you guys when my new valve block is in before we put the lines back in. You can actually see the strut moving upward as the air is released from the strut as there's no more pressure. And I just unbolted or undid the front right, the yellow over there. It is kind of cool to see that happen. New valve block on the right, old on the left. Both are manufactured by RIPA. You can just see below the Mercedes logo on the original, there's the old RIPA logo, and the new one just has the RIPA logo. The date code stickers, or I guess the stamps on this one, suggest 2023. This one doesn't have those traditional sort of circles with the date codes in them, but I guess it's original. I'm not entirely sure on that, but it does look pretty old. So we change this guy out, and we should be good to go after I fix that and the line that's been leaking. All right, so to take these lines off is a little bit tricky if you're not careful. So what I've done is I have now kind of sprayed these all up with some silicone spray, just kind of lubricate things a little bit. But take this red line, for example. If you look closely at it, there is the brass nut fitting over here, and there's also sort of a compression fitting on this side. We're going to want to take this and just kind of slowly push it back, and you'll see it kind of exposes this collar. And when this brass nut is tightened, it tightens over this compression fitting. Now, this fitting does not go around the entire line, as you can kind of see there, but our goal will be to kind of slip this guy off. Now, doing so can be a bit difficult, and you will hurt your fingers if you try to do it with your fingernails, so I wouldn't recommend it. What I did is I actually used a flathead screwdriver and gently pried and kind of twisted it, and it broke this piece in half, which is fine because we have new ones, but if you were to reuse these, be careful. Again, I do not recommend reusing these because these O-rings are likely to tear. So I'll show you what I mean. Here's our flathead. If I kind of stick it here and gently rotate, it begins to move toward the end. Alternatively, if you do just sort of pull on the edge of it, it just breaks in half. So in this case, because I don't really care about keeping these, I don't mind breaking them in half. Now, getting replacements of just that piece, not sure if it's possible. I think you can buy this whole piece, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But like I said, the new valve block, at least the OEM one made by RIPA, does come with them, so not really to be worried about. Here's a better look at that brass clip that sort of breaks into two from the brass fitting once you pry it a little bit. It takes very little force to do so. Once you've got all the fittings off of the AIRMATIC lines, it's a good time to clean them up a bit and just sort of make sure there's no debris on them so we don't introduce that to the new valve block, because that would be somewhat defeating the purpose of this entire job. Let's take our new valve block and remove the plastic caps from all the air fittings and make sure they're good to go so we can put our air lines into these, which is a very easy and straightforward process. Alright, got the new valve block bolted in, and while I did, I decided to take out the entire AIRMATIC pump. Because with that air pump line disconnected, there was nothing really holding it back in there, aside from the electrical connector, so I disconnected both of those, and I pulled the whole unit out just to do kind of an inspection. and put some electrical tape on that line. It does look kind of meh, whatever, but it should protect that line and increase its lifespan a little bit longer, but I'll definitely get a new line for that section because its days are certainly numbered, it looks like. Now to find some hose that fits that bung over there so we can sort of replace this garbage going on over here. So I've just learned that this inlet is actually not for the pressurized system of AIRMATIC at all. It's just an air intake for the pump. It basically allows the pump to not suck any water or dirt in from a higher location up above in the top of the fender. So it's actually not crucial to the system, working at least. So not that worried about that. Explains why it was still working just fine. Anyways, I'll hook this back up and we'll put the lines into the air block in a moment. All right, now that my pump ordeal has been solved, it's pretty simple to put these lines back in. You quite literally just press down. So I'll use this one for example, and the lines should be color-coded. If yours have worn off, just mark them so you know what's what. The green one's gonna be over here, and you just kind of press it in. You want to go a little bit more so it bites down. It's hard to do this so you guys can see it, but just like that. Kind of hard to see there, but you do need to use both hands to get it to kind of bite down on that fitting. And you're doing it basically until your color is barely showing, and that kind of signifies that it's in enough. And last but not least, let's put this guy back on. And there we have it. All right, so I've got the wheels back on the car and the front end's all back together. What I'm gonna do now is I'll start the car and let the car air back up and put pressure back in the struts before I put it back on the ground. This way we should have no issues with popping struts or putting too much pressure on the pump or the entire system. So we'll do that real quick and I'll let you guys know how it goes. And after that's done, put your wheels back on and you're good to go. Clear your codes if necessary and take it for a good test drive. Well guys, that's it for this video. If it was helpful, go ahead and leave a like and consider subscribing for more content like this on the ML63, and I will see you in the next one. If you guys like this video and all my content so far, check out sta-industries.com and check out all the German car apparel I have, especially M156 stuff. I have license plate frames, cool hoodies, sweaters, high quality stuff with nice embroidery. Check it out, you won't regret it. I'm always posting new stuff on the website, including ML stuff coming soon, specifically ML63 engine rebuild stuff, as it's pretty relevant to what I'm doing right now. But yeah, check out what I already got in there. Lots of cool M156 stuff that I really enjoy wearing while I work on my cars. There is also other Mercedes stuff already up there, like for my SL500, M119 stuff, including a lot of BMW apparel as well, so go check it out.